loneliness was a physical thing, a leaden cloak that threatened to crush him, leaving behind only a hollow, echoing silence and the frantic, synchronized beating of two small, defenseless hearts against his own shattered one. It was as if the very color had been bleached from the world, leaving behind a bleak, grainy film where every dawn was a carbon copy of the last. He had loved Sasha with a desperate, all-consuming fire, a love born not of logic, but of a childhood spent side by side in the same neighborhood, on the same rusty swing set. And while his shy gaze was fixed on the girl with hair like summer wheat, another girl, with thoughtful, dark eyes, was always watching him. Their bubbly, vivacious neighbor did the unthinkable and reciprocated his quiet, steadfast devotion. Years later, she would admit to herself that her decision wasn't from the heart, but from a place of cold, pragmatic calculation, whispered insistently by her mother. "Open your eyes. What can those dreamy boys with their loud guitars and empty promises really offer? But him? He's different. He's studious. He'll have a real career. And he looks at you like you hung the moon. You'll be secure. You'll be safe." Terrified of repeating her own mother's fate, eternally exhausted, working her fingers to the bone to raise a fatherless daughter, the young woman listened to the voice of reason. She said yes, and he, stunned by his own improbable luck, never once looked for the catch. He never knew that after they married, in secret from everyone, his wife would occasionally meet with that very guitarist whose smile once made her heart stutter. "Don't be a fool," her mother would hiss. "If he finds out, he'll throw you out. You'll be left with nothing." His young wife would just shrug her off, believing she was entitled to her small secrets. Then a daughter was born, followed soon after by a son. "Thank God," her mother had crossed herself, peering at the newborns. "I was afraid you were going to give me a real surprise." He worked day and night, and coming home, he'd immediately dive into the domestic chaos. None of his old friends knew he was the one who ironed the tiny clothes and cooked the dinners. Gradually, those friends just faded away, lost in the whirlwind of his new, all-consuming life. His own parents had moved to a quiet lake town after the wedding. It didn't bother him. He was willing to carry the entire world on his shoulders if it meant his son continued to shine beside him. But one day, that sun was extinguished. She left. She abandoned him and their two small children. "You'll manage better on your own," were her final, chilling words. "What kind of a mother am I anyway?" And me and Alex were leaving, for the city. He got a gig playing downtown, and who knows from there. "I'm sorry." "Sorry for what?" His voice was a stranger's rasp. "Fine, me, but the kids, they adore you." "Nonsense. They're little. They don't understand anything. They'll forget me in a week." That's when she appeared, Natalie, the girl with the dark eyes from all those years ago. She came to help, to support, to shoulder a part of his unbearable burden. And then somehow, it just happened. She stayed. For good. She dreamed of a child of her own, but doctors could only offer sympathetic shrugs. Health complications made that impossible. "Don't cry," he'd whisper, stroking her hair, feeling a wave of his own guilt. "I'm not crying," she'd smile, her eyes shimmering as she looked up at him. "These two are more than enough for me. I love them as my own." Meanwhile, back in the city, his ex-wife and her musician were riding a wave of success. His band got a real break, and she, out of boredom, started auditioning. A random commercial, then a role in a streaming series, a woman with a hard luck story, which she played with a shocking, raw truthfulness. She had a real talent. He clicked the remote, and the screen went black. "Would you have ever thought," he whispered, clenching his fists to keep them from shaking. Why couldn't he just erase her from his memory? Natalie was putting the kids to bed. 10-year-old Mia, already half asleep, mumbled, putting emphasis on the most important word. I love you. You're my mom. Natalie swallowed the lump in her throat. I love you too, sweetheart. And she had truly made her peace with it. She considered Bee's children her legacy, her destiny. With Mia, they shared a tender, deep friendship. But with the boy, Leo, it was more complicated. He'd have these explosive outbursts, screaming that she was a stranger, that his real mother was a celebrity, that she was nobody. Then, cooled off and ashamed, he'd come to apologize. Nat, you aren't mad, are you? I didn't mean it. She'd hug him and whisper that it was okay, that she wasn't angry. She understood his pain, his confusion, his anger. No matter how hard she tried, he remembered his mother. And in his soul, she, Natalie, was an imposter, a thief, in her mother's place. Time passed, the storms subsided, and life found a calm, steady rhythm. Her husband, from the very first day of his life with Natalie, felt a seismic shift, a home filled with genuine warmth, cozy silence, and unwavering attention. He was almost happy. He valued her, tried to reciprocate, but one shadow always lingered. The ghost of the past. He couldn't forget his first love. He'd lie awake at night and memories would flood in. Images, sounds, smiles. It would have been easier if her life had fallen apart, if karma had punished her for her cruelty. But she was soaring somewhere in the stratosphere, an untouchable star. When would this agonizing marathon finally end? Mia turned 16. The house was in a pre-graduation frenzy. The girl was so stressed she'd lost weight, and the fancy dress they'd bought early hung on her like a sack. Mom, what are we going to do? She asked miserably, holding up the loose fabric at her waist. Leo, sprawled on the couch with his phone, winced as he always did when he heard his sister use that word. He was used to Natalie, he respected her, but he only ever called her by her first name. Take it off, I'll take it in, Natalie reassured her. Leo, can you help me get the sewing machine? Yeah, 1 sec, just let me finish this game. 2 minutes. The girl went to her room to change. Natalie headed to the bathroom, and at that moment, a sharp, insistent doorbell rang. Grumbling, Leo went to answer it. There she stood, drenched in sunlight, laden with glossy shopping bags from expensive boutiques. "Oh my gosh, you're so grown up!" she exclaimed with sycophantic delight. "Where's your sister? I come bearing gifts." "Mom!" The word escaped him before he could stop it, and then he started yelling, his voice cracking. "Mom! Mom's here! Mia, get out here!" Mia emerged from her room in a robe, the dress in her hands. Natalie froze in the doorway to the living room, her face turning sheet white, her hand flying instinctively to her heart. Seeing her fear, Mia stepped into the hallway. "Why are you screaming at your brother?" she asked her brother, her voice icy. "My mom is right here, and who invited you anyway?" "Oh, so unfriendly," the visitor laughed. "And I went to all this trouble bringing these all the way from the city." "You shouldn't have bothered." "And what mom do you have here? Let me see." Dropping the bags in the foyer and ruffling her son's hair, the woman strode into the apartment. Seeing Natalie, she smirked with irony. "You, I should have guessed, always trailing after him even as kids. Well, shall we talk?" "Kids, go to your rooms," Natalie managed to force out. "We need to discuss something." "Leo, sweetie, take the bags. I got you guys the latest phones, and a dress for Mia for the graduation. You're a junior, right?" Without granting her an answer, Mia turned and left. Leo, gathering the bags, shuffled after her. Hey everyone! This story is hitting a real emotional nerve, isn't it? If you're invested in seeing how this family drama unfolds, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It really helps us out. and you won't miss what happens next. You two, I'm going to stay at my place for a little while, Natalie said, entering the kids' room. Spend some time with your mom. Can I come with you? Mia immediately responded. Of course, honey, but are you sure? She's not here for long. Not for long? Leo perked up, looking up from unboxing his new gadget. Mia took her dress, packed a bag, and walked out the door with Natalie. Only outside could Natalie finally exhale and dial her husband's number. Hello? She's at the house. Wants to spend time with the kids. I'm going to my place. Mia's with me. Who is? From where? Followed a heavy pause. The city. For a week, she says. Okay. I'll come to your place after work too. Really? A flicker of hope broke through in her voice. Of course. But he didn't come. Natalie sat by the window, watching the lights come on in the apartments across the street. Mia came up behind her and hugged her. Mom, don't cry. They don't deserve it. I'm not crying. It's fine. I don't want to grow up. All this love, these feelings, these emotions. It's just one big nightmare. The girl declared with a painful vehemence. Natalie laughed, but her laughter was tinged with tears. It's not always like this, my dear. And are you going to leave him now? Not forgive him? I don't know, sweetie. I don't know. And finally, the tears came. She buried her head in her arms on the table. Mia softly rubbed her back, her own young, fragile heart breaking with sympathy for this woman who had become more than family. Back in his apartment, the atmosphere was strained and artificial. Their guest had ordered restaurant takeout. Leo, trying a sushi roll, was unimpressed. You should have asked, she chided lightly. Next time we'll get pizza. Don't you know how to cook? When would I have learned, son? There's no time for that in my life. She offered a flustered smile and turned her gaze at him. How do I get through to Mia? The girl isn't swayed by gifts. He, who generally liked Japanese food, took a sip of wine and shrugged. Why bother? On principle? You're leaving anyway. Mom, can I come with you? Leo asked, suddenly animated. Of course, honey, but my life is very hectic, and as you can see, I'm no master chef. When will you come back? As soon as I can find the time, I promise. So, like in 11 years? He grumbled darkly. Leo, go to your room. Your father and I need to talk. We'll order the best pizza tomorrow. Go. The boy sat in his room, grappling with a strange, unpleasant feeling. He'd made a mistake somewhere. And he didn't want pizza right now. He wanted that pizza, the homemade one Natalie made herself, with the crispy crust, bacon, and aromatic herbs. It was real. And this woman, his birth mother, felt like a stranger, glossy and incompatible with the perfect image he'd cherished in his soul for years. He dialed his sister's number. What are you guys doing? Nothing. We finished the dress, getting ready for bed. You? Come get me, huh? He whined. Tomorrow, after school. The food here sucks. Come get me now. You shouldn't have yelled, Mom's here. Sit there and learn your lesson. What is it? He heard Natalie's calm voice in the receiver. Leo wants to come over. Tell him to come out. I'll walk over and get him. It's just 2 minutes. Yes, the boy whispered. Natalie is the best. On the kitchen, their guest, playfully adjusting her hair, was saying, I don't believe you don't want to reminisce about the old days. Come on, David. We were so good together. I don't, he lied, feeling a tremor starting in his fingertips. Hold the line, he told himself. Behave yourself. You came for the kids, then focus on the kids. He felt he was on the verge of wavering, of giving in, because every cell in his body remembered this magnetic pull. But to give in would be to lose her, the one who had become his true home. He was mentally pleading for strength. Quiet, I thought I heard something. It's your imagination. Oh, David. No, there's something there. He walked into the hallway and flicked the light switch. Leo, caught red-handed, was hurriedly pulling on his sneakers. A stuffed backpack lay beside him. "And where do you think you're going?" his father asked sternly. "Well, to Natalie's. I mean, it's the middle of the night. She said it was okay. We talked." The woman came out into the hallway and stared at her son. He looked down, feeling like a traitor. The man sighed, took his jacket from the hook, and grabbed his keys. "You're all insane!" she shrieked. "Sorry," he shrugged, and he and his son walked out, closing the door behind them. She returned to the kitchen, poured more wine, and lit a cigarette. She turned off the light and stared out the dark window where three figures, her ex-husband, her son, and that woman, were walking toward another home, another life. A strange, aching sense of loss tightened around her heart. She thought at least her son would be happy. This whole trip was a mistake. She should have flown to the Caribbean as originally planned. She only had a week off before shooting started again. 15-hour days, 6 days a week. That was her life, and usually, it suited her just fine. In Natalie's older apartment, peace and quiet finally settled. Everyone retreated to their rooms. He tried to speak, but she stopped him. "Wait, my head is still spinning from all of this. Let me just find my footing again." "But you don't think anything happened, do you?" "I thought it might have." "How could you? You didn't come. You promised, but you stayed there." "I needed to see her. Just to see her and understand. And I did understand." "Shh. Okay, let me just check on the kids." She stopped at the doorway and turned back. The light caught her eyes, and in them she saw irony mixed with pain. "So, is that grand passion for her still alive?" He laughed. A quiet, calm laugh. Today he had realized one simple but profound thing. It turns out that a great love isn't always a raging fire. Sometimes it's the quiet glow in a window you're hurrying towards. It's the warm hands that know how to soothe your aches. And that old feeling, it wasn't love. It was a shadow. A shade from the past that fades and vanishes with the first rays of a genuine morning. You can't build a home on a shadow. You can't hold it. It means nothing. What would you do in Natalie's shoes? Or in the husband's? Could you ever truly trust again after a day like that? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear different perspectives on this. She went into the kids' room. Mia was already asleep, breathing deeply and evenly. Natalie kissed her cheek and straightened the blanket. She approached Leo's bed and started. In the darkness, two wide-open eyes were staring intently at her. "Why are you still awake? You scared me." She reached to pull his blanket up, but he intercepted her hand. His whisper was utterly childlike, filled with sincerity. "I'm sorry. I thought she was the real one, but it turns out she's not. You're the real one. Go to sleep. It's late." She leaned down hesitantly to kiss his forehead and heard him whisper, "I'm going to learn how. I promise." "Learn what?" she asked, surprised. "To call you Mom." And in the early morning, when the first rays of sun peeked through the window, illuminating Natalie's sleeping face, he watched her and thought that the greatest happiness wasn't found in loud passions or dazzling explosions, but in this quiet, piercing harmony. In a warm sweater folded neatly on a chair, in the smell of fresh baking from the kitchen, in the laughter of children who had finally found their true, unshakable harbor. He gently adjusted the blanket on her shoulder, and without waking, she smiled in her sleep. And outside the window, a new day was beginning. Clean, bright, and infinitely kind, full of a quiet joy and an endless trust in a life that, despite all its storms, always finds its way back to a calm, shining shore.